Yo, what's going on guys? Welcome back to the channel. It's Bertrude and today we are carrying on with the 50 build showcase. I make builds, I love making Elden Ring builds, I've got loads of builds and I've been doing this series where I'm clumping a load of them together into certain videos to showcase the variations that you can have within one genre of build. Today we're looking at my Battle Mage builds, so this is going to be a pretty fun one. It's a really cool category, so you guys just sit back, relax and enjoy. Here we go guys, welcome back to the channel. I hope you're all having an absolutely awesome day. So yeah, we're carrying on with the 50 build showcase, and in this episode we are looking at my Battle Mages. Now before I start talking about any builds for this one, the first thing I want to talk about is the question of, for me, what makes a Battle Mage? What qualifies a build as being a Battle Mage rather than just a wizard? And for me the answer is kind of someone who uses unconventional means of combat, unconventional intelligence spells, and just pretty much someone who approaches the build from an intelligence scaling standpoint that is different to just spamming comet and spamming projectiles. It's someone who maybe relies a little bit more heavily on the weapons of choice, mixing in the Ashes of War with the spells. And like I say, it's basically someone who just isn't spamming comet and is using some unconventional spells and weapons to put the kit together within the intelligence scaling bracket. So the first build we're looking at in this video is Jimmy Crystal. This is a really fun build. Is London's #1 crystal dealer. If you're looking for a crystal when you come to London, go and see Jimmy, but be careful, don't do him over, don't try and undercut him, because he's also London's #1 mobster. So if you try and skimp our Jimmy on his price for his crystals that he loves so much, he's going to come round with the boys. He's going to bring the boys round and sort you out, so you better give him a good price for his crystals. Honestly guys, just give him a good price for his crystals. It's as simple as that. If you respect Jimmy and his crystals, Jimmy and the boys will respect you. So as you've probably guessed, the overall theme for this build is all based around the two crystal sorceries being Crystal Release and Crystal Blast. Is it the other one? What's it called, the other one? We've got Crystal Release that rains down from above, and then we've got more of like an in-your-face shotgun projectile in the Crystal Shattering Crystal. There you go. I was waiting for it to come up on the screen because I couldn't remember the name of it. I can never remember the name of the spells, guys. You all know this by now. But Shattering Crystal is like an in-your-face, close-range shotgun. And then Crystal Release is like crystals raining down from the heavens above them. And they both have the uses, you know. They're both good in certain situations. Crystal Release is very good for that close-range kind of... if someone's closing the gap on you, you can time it well and give them a good big old shotgun blast to the face. You've got to kind of time it right with that one. It doesn't do a lot of damage if you don't hit it right. If they just kind of take a partial bit of the blast of it, it often doesn't do much damage at all. But if you time it right and you get it, you know, a good spread, and they take a lot of the crystals, they're going to take a hell of a lot of damage. Crystal Release, the one that rains down from above, is an absolutely awesome spell. The hyper armor on that spell is absolutely insane. Honestly, if someone's attacking you with that, with some weapons, and they're trying to get close to you and close the gap, Crystal Release will poise through most attacks. I often don't get stunned out of it, to be honest. You can poise through, and then they take so much damage from the crystals that are raining down above them. It's such a good spell, and it's got me loads of kills in the past. I'll tell you something as well, guys, just taking a look at this invasion. I have come to absolutely despise blues over this last month. I mean, we all know what blues are, don't we? We all know they're just the absolute cretins of Elden Ring, and I've always despised them. But just over this last month in particular, I've come to despise them on a whole new level. Honestly, if you're a blue, just get in the bin. Get in the bin. No one likes you. Even the hosts don't like or respect you that you're coming to help so eagerly. Honest to God, guys. Look, there's another one here now. They just come in and ruin good invasions all the time. And they think they're saving the day. They think they're being the big man. But this guy doesn't know he's taking on Jimmy Crystal. So whatever the outcome is of this invasion, I'm going to go and find him with the boys. Jimmy and the boys are going to go down and sort him out with his spinny little pole blade there. I mean, that was a good invasion, but there's just constant influx of blues there, just spoil it as always. I just despise them, and that's not the only invasion that blues come into ruin for Jimmy Crystal in this video. But anyway, for now, on to the next one. Let's take a look at the weapons on this one. So, the weapons, the main ones we've got as an option is the Onyx Lord Greatsword, the big curved sword that we're using in this invasion now. That's really cool because it's got that gravity repulsion Ash of War in it, which can often hit pretty hard. And you know, big curved swords are just a really fun weapon, aren't they? They've got a really nice move set. It matches really well with this build in general and the overall playstyle. Not to mention visuals. I think the visuals of that sword really do suit the armour. Besides that, we've got two Carrion Knight straight swords that we can use as our other main option on the build. Obviously just a really solid option, really good intelligent scaling straight swords. We're using two of them as well, which, you know, dual straight sword moveset is just, you can't beat it, can you? It's just really good. And they've got the Carrion Grandeur Ash of War, so that can hit really hard on the build as well. And then all the time in our second weapon slot there, as you've just seen, we're using the crystal, the Glintstone Chris Dagger, sorry. And then that's just got the Glintstone Pebble Ash of War on it, but it's got that kind of variation one where there's a little bit more damage, it's got a little bit longer range on the thrust. It's just a really good option to have in our second weapon slot, just to mix things up a bit. And then finally, the staff we're using is the Rotten Crystal Staff, and that's going to boost the damage on our crystal spells. So yeah, just a really good build altogether. It's at rune level 60, this one. We've got 35 vigor, 20 strength, 19 dex. So that's pretty much minimum strength and dex for the weapons. But then we've got 45 intelligence. To boost the damage on our spells, we've got the Graven Mass Talisman. And then in our flask, we're using the Magic Knot to give us 10 extra intelligence. And then we're also using the Magic Damage one to give us a bit more damage on our magic spells. So yeah, it's all catered towards, you know, getting the most out of our intelligence, really, getting the most damage with our spells and our weapons. And look, there's another blue here just doing what blues do, just being an absolute schmeagle. This guy came in, I didn't know if he wanted to fight initially, but then he decides he wants to fight. Just doesn't know what day it is, takes a load of damage from crystal release there, and there you go, he's dead. But guess what, guys, that's not the only one. As usual, we take care of one and then another little schmeagle comes in. They're just like rats. They're just like rats, aren't they? They're just like little vermin. Just go away. You stink. Absolutely stink. And look at that, ruins another invasion. But anyway, guys, that's it for Jimmy Crystal. Let's take a look at those ratings. So looking at performance for Jimmy Crystal, I'm giving it a B. It's a really good build, but it lacks a bit of ranged options. You've got to be close to really make it work. Fun fact is an A, it's very fun, and the fashion is an A+, top tier. So I mentioned at the start of the video about what qualifies a build to be a battle mage for me compared to just a regular wizard. And I'm hoping with this build, the Cosmic Hunter, I'm hoping that that kind of starts to become a bit more obvious in terms of what I mean with the approach to the actual build. This build out of the three that I'm showcasing today does use the most kind of ranged spells. It does have ranged options, but still, you know, it's not just your typical comet spam. It's not your typical blue laser beam projectiles. It's got a variation and it uses the spells in a different way to most wizards that you see. So, you know, when you think about a battle mage in terms of what I'm describing, this build kind of summarises it the best, I would like to say. I really like the lore that this build has as well. It's got a nice little backstory to it. I always thought of this build as being kind of like a Lovecraftian build. I always described it as that in the past. I kind of picture him as this cosmic, otherworldly hunter who comes down from the stars, from another realm, another dimension, and he comes to the lands between to hunt horse and take back to his own world to do whatever with. You know what I mean? He kind of comes down to hunt and then he returns home. But he's kind of got this Lovecraftian theme. He's got this theme of kind of like space and otherworldly methods to hunt with. All of the spells that he's using are kind of gravity-based spells, and he's got the big Loretta's great bow that obviously is a hunter, and having a cosmic bow to shoot kind of fits the build. And then he's also got Meteorite on the build. So I'll talk about using otherworldly spells, that fits the build perfectly. But then that also rings true with his weapons as well. He's using some weapons that kind of fit the otherworldly theme. He's got Rosa's axe, Loretta's war sickle, you know, suits the Loretta's great bow that he's using. He's got the Death's Ritual spear, and then finally he's got the Bastard stars. So it's kind of got a cosmic theme running throughout this build. It's a really cool playstyle. It's a really cool character. It's definitely a character build, this one. Some of my builds definitely lean more into being characters than effective fighters, but this one is both. I'd say he's very effective in the right situations. It definitely lacks a bit of poise, lacks a bit of defences, but the fashion came first with this one all day long. But yeah, he's a good build, you know. He's a good build. The playstyle is great. You can mix some really cool combos in with his weapons and his spells. If you play it right, it can be really fun. It's a good build. Some of the spells he's using as well, you know, it's really fun. It's really good build. We've got Rock Sling. Rock Sling is underrated. You know, people don't like Rock Sling, but I kind of like mixing it into the rotation on this one. It can often catch people off guard, and it's just a good way to open up a fight. Maybe use it to close some distance or keep them on the toes. We've got Night Comet, so that's another projectile spell, but again, it's mixing in with the theme of the build. It's not just your typical blue laser beam. We've got the gravity spells. We've got both options. We've got the little singular one, and then we've got the gravity well, is it? The big option that shoots out a few projectiles. And then we've also got Night Maiden's Mist that I haven't mentioned on this build as well. So you can definitely see how the theme for this one is all tying together. Like I said, we are lacking on a bit of defences with the armour that we're using. So to counteract that, we're using the Opaline Hardtier on this one. And we've also got some Boiled Crab. As well, in our flask as the Opaline Hardtier, we're using the Intelligence Knot to boost our intelligence by 10, which just allows us to use all of our spells. I think we need the 10 extra intelligence for the Gravity Well. And just having that extra little boost just gives us access to everything that I want to use for those 3 minutes. I just absolutely love the mix-up of weapons on this one. I think it's so cool. We've got so many different Ashes of War to use, but again, all sticking within the same theme. Sometimes it's nice to have a few different weapons to use on a build. Sometimes I'll make a build that just focuses around maybe even 1 or 2 weapons, literally just what I'm carrying on me. But then other builds like this, I like to mix some different weapons in to have a few different options for each invasion. And then I can always do some swaps during the invasion if I think the situation calls for it. But this isn't the type of build where I'm going to be trying to hard swap often, but sometimes I will switch weapons up, like I said, just if I think the situation calls for it. The Cosmic Hunter is a rune level 65 build. We've got 36 intelligence. No, sorry, we've got 36 Vigour. It's a level 65 build with 36 Vigour. We've got 30 Intelligence, then we've got 20 Strength and 22 Dex. Our staff of choice on this one is the Meteorite staff, and I'm using that just because it's going to boost the damage of our gravity spells, which is going to benefit the build overall. But let's take a look at this invasion that we've got going on in the background here. This was this was a 14.5 minute invasion. I've cut it down a lot, but to summarise, I had that fight with this duo, which lasted a while there on the steps. I managed to kill the summon, and I thought it was game over. I chased the horse down here, and I got him down to one shot like this about 3 times, and I just couldn't finish him off. I just couldn't get that final blow, and I knew it was just a matter of time until he resummoned his friend. And resummon his friend he did. He managed to get him back in. My health pots were going down low. I retreated back up to the steps, and then it was just a standoff for ages. They wouldn't commit to me even though there was 2 of them and I was just stood next to like 1 enemy. I got bored, I went down to confront them, and yeah, they managed to kill me, but it was a good invasion overall. It just lasted absolutely ages. I've included it because it showcases the build quite well. But yeah, a bit of a funny invasion overall, that one. I cut it down a lot so you didn't have to sit through 10 minutes of me just trying to goad them up the steps. Really good opportunity on this invasion there to make some good use out of Night Maiden's Mist. You've got 2 players in a corridor, they've nowhere to go behind them. They've got to push through, but you know, I'm blocking the path with the mist. Trying to push them forward into my Ash of War and the Bastard Stars. Just a really good situation to spawn into, but these 2 can't be taken lightly. This guy's an absolute bleed machine with his 2 twin blades doing those jump attacks, and then you've got the big old fat boy behind him, so I've got to be really careful. Luckily there, I got an Ash of War landed on the summon, and I get a little bit of help here from the PvE to finish him off. Big boy's retreating back down the steps, and you know what that means, it's time for some more Maiden's Mist. But I actually decide to switch weapons on this one shortly, and I go with the Loretta's Warsicle, the halberd, just trying to get a little bit more damage to get this invasion done. But you can see there again, Night Maiden's Mist, so underrated. Players just run through it, don't think about the damage they're going to take, and it's a really good way to get some sneaky damage in there, or at least just wear out their pots. Because that damage they're taking from the Night Maiden's Mist, you know, don't sleep on it. Don't sleep on Night Maiden's Mist. They take a lot more damage than you think. They take at least a health pots of damage from it. So it's a good way to whittle their heals down, if nothing else. You can see now, like I said, I've switched to the Warsicle, and it's just doing a bit more damage overall, just to get this big fat boy done and dusted. So yeah, this is just a good build overall, guys. It's a really fun play style. Yeah, just a Cosmic Hunter. Really good theme for a build, and I think the kit overall is great. So let's take a look at those ratings. Performance, very similar to Jimmy Crystal, but I'm edging this one slightly above at a B+. If we had a bit more poison defences, it'd definitely be an A build, but we're lacking in that area, so B+. Fun factors an A+, and fashion top tier S. And the last build that we're showcasing today for our Battle Mages is the Anti Mage. I really like this build, it's very fun. I'm giving you a little spoiler, but it's an S tier build in terms of fun. Performance, we're going to wait and see for that one, but it's definitely an S tier in terms of fun. Something that I love about this build more than anything is the lore that accompanies it. When I first released this video, I spent all day writing a story that I had in mind to accompany this build. The backstory on it is just brilliant, and it makes me so much more invested into the character of the build. I highly recommend you go and take a look at that video. I'll put a description to it. I'll put a link in the description to it, sorry, if you are interested. The story for that one he just, like I say, it just makes me love the character even more. But to summarise, it basically tells the story of a young lad who had a talent for magic, who gets accepted into the Academy of Magic to study and become a high-ranking mage. But in the end, he winds up being outcast by his fellow mages, and because of that, he absolutely despises mages. So he uses intelligence, but he does it in a way that obviously isn't like your typical mage. He doesn't use any projectile spells. All of the spells he uses revolve around swordplay. So he's infusing his weapon with magic to use, and then he's also using the magical blade spells. So he's a mage, but he kind of rebels against the mage ways. That's kind of what the story revolves around. He is the anti-mage, the mage who hates mages. I just love the build. He's got a really cool bit of lore as well, with the prisoner's helm that he's wearing. In the story, once he qualified from the academy, he would have been rewarded with the big Burger King helm, the big glintstone crown. But because of the act that he committed, he got outcast by the mages, like I say, and instead of the glintstone crown as a reward, he got the prisoner's helm infused upon his head as a punishment, and he can never take that off. That's part of him now. It's been magically bound to his face, to his head, to his body. He will never remove the prisoner's helm. So he's the mage who hates mages, and he's also got this hideous bulbous crown on his head that he has to wear as punishment for the act that he committed in the academy. Really worth a watch. I'm really proud of the story that I wrote for this character. I absolutely loved writing it, but you know, like I'm saying, I'm proud of the story, and I'm really proud of the character that I created for this particular build. So if you've not seen it, go and check out that video. Like I say, I'll put a link in the description, and let me know if you enjoy it. But it's a really fun build overall. We're using the S-stock rapier as our main weapon. We're infusing that with magic for some bit more damage. So you know, it does some good damage, but as a main weapon, it's not majorly strong. You know, we are lacking in damage a little bit, but we've got the Storm Stomp attached to it as the Ash of War. And what I try to do with the build is use Storm Stomp and combo that into our carrier blade spells, you know, the carrying piercer, the carrying greatsword, the carrying slicer. We try and combo Storm Stomp into those to guarantee some hits. I was thinking about this build and how it could be improved, and one thing that it definitely needs is some more dexterity for a higher cast speed. Having that kind of extra speed on those sword spells would do this build a lot of good. It'd make it a lot more effective, but it's at rune level 60, so I just can't afford to do it, and I don't want to take this build up to higher levels. So you know, I'm happy with how it is, but I was just brainstorming in my head. If I did have the levels to add to this build, it would definitely be in dexterity to get some quicker attacks with the carrying slicer and the greatsword and the piercer. I think that would make it even more effective, and especially with using the Storm Stomp, being able to hit them quicker after I land a Storm Stomp, get those spells out quicker, would only benefit the build. So if I could change something, that's what I'd change, but it would mean taking it up to higher levels, which I'm not prepared to do. It's currently at rune level 60. We've got 45 vigor, and we've got 30 intelligence. So yeah, it's a pretty simple build really in terms of the stats. But the kind of standout thing for this build all comes from the playstyle and the character. We're all very used to seeing these spells, you know, carrying slicer is nothing new, carrying piercer is nothing new. But I think when you put them to the absolute forefront of a build and use them alongside a magic infused S-stock and try and use Storm Stomp to combo it all together, I think that's where it starts becoming quite different to the kind of playstyle that you usually see with these spells. And it just makes for a really fun build. Like I said, it's an S-tier build in terms of fun. It's so much fun, honestly, and it's just a story that brings me so much more joy, knowing that this guy has got his reasons for what he's doing, why he's out hunting. You know, it just brings it all together so well. So looking at this invasion, I was under a lot of pressure there. I managed to use a bloody finger to reposition, get a heal off, and then this summon gets a bit giddy, tries to track me down here, gets separated from his crew, and I managed to take him out, no problem. Now it's just a case of trying to put some pressure back on these two. I've got a little bit of PvE support going on. especially now with this big old girl behind me. These two are clearly distracted, but I'm trying to focus on the summon here. Get a nice combo there with a Storm Stomp into the Greatsword, and if you keep an eye on the horse in the background, he's about to die. So this was a successful invasion after being under so much pressure earlier. I would like to think that, you know, I could have finished this summon off and then gone and taken care of the host. But overall, it was a good invasion, especially after being under so much pressure early on. We're obviously using the carrying glintstone staff on this build for the simple reason that it's boosting our carrying glintstone sorcery. The sword spells, it's going to give those a little boost. And it's just an obvious choice really, isn't it? It's going to give us a bit more damage on our main spells that we're using, so bit of a no-brainer there. But we're into our last invasion here for the video. Nice little combo, we managed to take him out no problem. Yeah, so really fun build, but let's take a look at the overall ratings. So despite it being an S tier build in fun, it's a performance B-. It's not got the most damage, but it does its job, you know. It's not a bad build by any stretch. It's definitely an S fun factor, and it's an S tier build for fashion. But that's it guys, that's all the invasions I've got for you today. I hope you've enjoyed watching the video. Look after yourselves, look after each other, and I'll see you all next time.